This is sponsored by the Baroque Orchestra of New Jersey. Notice that we have 3 board members present. I apologize if I'm missing somebody. Joanne Bates is our president, and Doug Anderson and Evan Ardell are members. So if you have any questions about the orchestra, please use the chat feature that's at the bottom. And you can talk to Joanne, you can talk to Evan, you can talk to Doug, you can talk to me. I'm going to mute you all for now because to avoid extraneous background sounds. But when you do want to say something, please feel free. Either use, again, the chat or raise your hand. I don't see where the raise your hand function is, but I know it's there. Or unmute yourself. And that Lynn, Bob, Simon, that go when you speak, that'll be the case. But the first thing I want to do is I want to acknowledge the help and support of the town of Madison. They are they have been so supportive. And as we work through all of this difficulty, it's important that we all stay together, that we support each other, and that we do support the local community. So let me just acknowledge a few people who have helped us with our virtual concerts, our virtual festival, and just helping to stay connected and put everything together. The first one I want to acknowledge is the Madison Community Arts Center. Eric Hafen is the director. They have volunteered to let us use their facilities for some of our virtual concerts and have been so supportive. It's a new facility, it's a new venue, and we're looking forward to doing many more concerts there in the future. We have the support of the Madison Arts and Cultural Alliance. They're a Madison group that is for the arts, for music, for theater, and for anybody who just works in the arts world and the cultural world. And the Madison Downtown Development Commission is also a big help in promoting our show, promoting our events, and us all working together. Morris Arts, we get our grant from Morris Arts, and they help support our activities during the year, help keep us going during this, even during this challenging time. Morris County Tourism Bureau is an important partner of the orchestra. We've done many performances in collaboration with them. Morris County Chamber of Commerce is also a partner for the orchestra and does a lot of work to just keep everything going during these really, really challenging times. And it's so important to keep going, to stay positive, to stay connected and support each other. Madison Area YMCA, many of you have shared our concerts we've done in collaboration with the YMCA, our opera concerts, which have been so thrilling. Romanelli's, the restaurant, wonderful Italian restaurant. We go there for our parties. We eat there many times. They're so helpful and supportive. Madison Bagel Cafe, which stays open. They're so great. People, we meet there, we talk business there. I go there to compose. Shanghai Jazz, one of the great music places, venues in the world. It's recognized as one of the greatest jazz places anywhere. Salvatore Minardi, a hair salon, he's my personal hair stylist that I go to. Salvatore is a guitar player as well and a very strong supporter of the orchestra. Madison Pharmacy, another business that's been in Madison, a family-owned business that keeps going for the longest time. Evan Ardell Financial Services, I mentioned Evan is on our board, and his business is and work helps to support everything we do as well. Andrew Massini, his business Sound Ledgers. Andrew is our treasurer and does a lot of work as well behind the scenes for the orchestra. But mostly this broadcast, as with any public broadcast and community service, is only made possible by listeners like you, like us. I cannot thank you enough. Several of you have made so many kind and generous donations. If you have any money or anything can help. The smallest amount is a lot to us, means a lot to keep us going. This is the address that you can send a check if you have the desire to. The Baroque Orchestra of New Jersey, 531 Herrick Drive in Dover, New Jersey, 07801. Also, for those of you, if you'd like to be on our newsletter list, in which we tell you what we've got coming up, the events like this show, which we do I try to do every 3-4 weeks. Our next one is in 3 weeks. I forget the exact date, I think February 25th. And it will be another special show, which I'll talk about later. And one of our major collaborators and exciting organizations and people that we work with. But just drop me an email. That's my email, bobloot@aol.com. And I will be more than happy to put you on our newsletter list so that you will it comes out maybe once or twice a week, usually once a week. And it's filled with stories about what we're doing, what's coming up, information, stories about the artists, who's playing where, what we're doing, and so on. So that's a look at the town, the community. As we keep going, we keep supporting, we keep bringing everything that we can do together to build back. And as I think I see signs that we are recovering, we are moving into a better area. I think we're going to get through this. Well, I know we're going to get through this. We can only get through it together and working together. Today's show is dedicated to our really exciting and rewarding collaboration with the New York Classical Music Society. And we have 3 of their greatest artists are joining us today to tell us about what they do. And we're going to play a little bit of their music. And I want to start by playing an excerpt by the president and founder of the New York Classical Music Society, who has joined us today all the way from Korea. And it's almost midnight in Korea, and she's with us anyway. So before we meet Lynn, let me play an excerpt of something she played with us. It's one of the variations from the Rachmaninoff variations on a theme of Paganini. And to me, it's not only one of the most beautiful variations, it's just totally one of my favorite pieces of music. Bravo, Lynn. That is so beautiful. So, Lynn, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? What do you do when you're not doing music? Just tell us who you are. Unmute yourself first. Lynn, you need to unmute yourself. I can do it.
Okay.
There.
Yes. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Lin Che, and as you already know, that I'm a pianist, and I've been I've been performing all around the world, and I've been teaching many years in many colleges, and now I'm mostly helping young musicians and great musicians to be performed around the world. So I'm like a center of the connections now among the musicians. So, uh, well, I'm in Korea right now because my father passed away about 10 weeks ago. So I'm in Korea right now, and I cannot travel much until Corona is get easy. So I
When
think my concert, all the concerts has been canceled, and this doesn't seem good for 2021 neither. So basically, I'm stuck in here. So this is very exciting to meet the new people and see my friends again. And so thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It's exciting to see you. I'd just like to ask you, when did you found and start the New York Classical Music Society?
Actually, it was just I've been living in New York City for 40 years, but among 40 years, in the middle of the like from 2000 to 2010, I moved to California and teach at the California State University of Northridge for 10 years. So while I was there, I founded the Chamber Music Society of Southern California, which is the mother organization of the New York Classical Music Society. So just since 2004, this organization have been, flourish.
Great. Well, it's such a great pleasure as always to see you. Um,
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce a special violinist who has worked with us. Alas, so far has only worked with us once, but I'm looking forward to another time. But before we meet him, let me play a brief excerpt. He he performed the Mozart Fifth Violin Concerto with us back in I think 2015 at an incredible concert we did at the Domena Center in New York. And a wonderful solo. So let's look at a few minutes of that performance of that wonderful Mozart concerto. great pleasure. Currently a member of the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra, although I am not working and I know there are some difficulties there. I've lost you on my screen. There you are. So I'd like to introduce you, and please tell us who you are, what you do, anything that you want us to share with us about who you are. Shenghua, did I say that correctly? I hope. Shenghua Simon Hu.
Hey Bob, how you doing?
Good to see you.
Yes, nice to see you. Yeah, I'm so happy to play, with you, and it's special time, in a special time, um, to having the music is a nice thing. And yeah, this is Simon. I'm working with Metropolitan Opera since 2015. Before that, working was in Albany Symphony, and um, uh, can you hear me?
Yes, everything is good.
Okay.
When did you
Yes.
start playing the
So
violin?
yeah, I start at violin started at 3 years old, and yeah, I was born in Shanghai of China, and I studied with my father since 3 years old, and then I went to the Shanghai music school, middle school, and high school in Shanghai. And after that, I went to the University of Cincinnati, studied with the Kurt Sussman House. Yeah, after that, I went to the New York, study with Abel Markov. Yeah, for many years.
Terrific. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
And our third guest is one of the most illustrious artists in the world. It has been such an incredible pleasure to know him. In addition to being a great musician, and such a wonderful person and such a valued colleague. But he's a legend in the music world. Just one of the greats on the French horn. So before we meet him, the first thing that we all did together was a piece for, let me see if I can remember, for three solo French horns and orchestra, a concerto for three French horns by the Baroque composer Georg Philipp Telemann. And Bob Watt invited a couple of his friends and colleagues to be the other two soloists. And it's just a remarkable piece of music. It's exciting, it's uplifting. I find whenever I need a lift, I listen to this performance and this piece, and it was so wonderful. So, in case you don't know Bob, when you looking at the screen, he'll be the French horn player all the way on the right. What a great piece of music, great sound. And with that, I'd like to introduce somebody I'm really proud to call a friend and a great colleague. And as I said, a legend in the music world, Mr. Robert Watt. Tell us who you are. Tell us about yourself.
Just a kid who wanted to play French horn, heard the sound, the French horn first, before I knew what it was, on the Lone Ranger TV program, which would be the Wave Tell Overture. And my father played trumpet, so there was always some brass instrument around the house. And the famous story where I wanted to get hold of the trumpet, so I couldn't reach it on the mantelpiece, and I put my little brother on my shoulder. He grabbed it, and we both fell, denting the trumpet. and I tried to repair it with a hammer. So my father then, my namesake, who was Robert Lee Booker, who was a jazz player in New York, told my father, don't be upset. Perhaps he's interested in playing the trumpet. So he sent me a trumpet, and that's how I first brass instrument. And after trying to learn trumpet from your parents, which is not an easy thing to have your parents teach you because they lose patience. And anyway, one day I asked my father what the sound was, what that French horn sound was. It came in on the We and Tell Overture. What was that? First is the trumpet, then that instrument that came in after the trumpet. And he said, well, it's a middle instrument's a brass, a middle instrument's a French horn, peck horn. He used the term peck horn. And he was thinking about a mellophone, but he wasn't that knowledgeable about the instrument. But that's how I found out what French horn was. So that's how I got into it and decided that I would pursue it, and started in high school, actually playing. Before that, I played French horn bugle in a drum corps, but it had sort of a French horn sound. But once I got to high school, I took up the real French horn and started to study with my band director in high school. And my band director in high school studied, he was a trombone player, and he studied with Arthur Pryor, who played with John Philip Sousa. So, but my band director had this, a municipal band at the beach in Asbury Park, New Jersey, right on the beach. And it was in the Arthur Pryor Band Pavilion. And so he conducted in the summer this band at band concerts. And I would go down and listen. And I realized that there were two French horn players, both from Juilliard. And one of them became my teacher, who taught me for no fee at all, and really helped me along, to get with a real French horn player. So that was a real boost. And I ended up getting into the New England Conservatory and studying with second horn of the Boston Symphony. And he was very instrumental in helping me improve and grow. And he was the one that said it was time to start auditioning for orchestras, because the school at New England Conservatory at the time had financial problems. And all the scholarships were canceled for the coming year. And I was one of them, and I would not have been in school. So I started preparing, and I ended up taking my first audition at the LA Philharmonic, and then after Chicago Symphony, and then back to Boston. And I made the finals in both places. Chicago, I got sick because of the weather, and I didn't get the job, but was still waiting on Los Angeles. After 2 months, I got a note under my door after playing with the Boston Ballet all evening. Call Los Angeles. So it's 1:30 in the morning. And so it's still early in Los Angeles. So I called, and President manager said, Zubin Mehta, he wants to know if you want the job. I said, the job? What job? He says, I said, oh, it's still open. I said, I haven't heard anything. Yeah, I know. He says, I'm sorry, but he wants to know if you want the job. And I said, well, really? I said, well, when does it start? He says, can you start in June? And he wants you to start at the Hollywood Bowl to get comfortable with the orchestra before the winter season. And I said, oh, I had been invited back to Tanglewood. This is, you're getting out of your student head. I said, can't come in June. I've got to go back to Tanglewood. And he lost his temper. He said, Tanglewood, you want to be a student the rest of your life? I'm offering you a job in a major symphony orchestra. He said, what's wrong with you? He says, you want the job or not? I said, how much does it pay? He says, $300 a week. We have someone else's salary. When the fall comes, you'll get your own salary. And I said, every week? Yes, every week. Will you give me an answer? And I'm trying to process this 1:30 in the morning. And I said, oh, okay, I'll take it. And so I hang up the phone, and I'm thinking, wow, who can I tell? 1:30 in the morning, who can you call? I called my oldest brother, and he said, oh, congratulations. But then I had to think about trying to sleep after hearing that news, and I couldn't get to sleep. So the next morning, I went to the dean of music at the conservatory to tell him that I wouldn't be back the following year, which I probably wouldn't have anyway because I had no scholarship. But it was a funny thing. He was waiting to talk to me. He had heard that. He said, "Oh, Bob, I wanted to talk to you." And I said, "What?" And he said, "This, just heard this news." He said, "The Atlanta Symphony is accepting colored people." And I said, "Well, gee, I hope they get some." I said, "Because I've been hired by the Los Angeles Philharmonic. I just wanted to tell you." And he looked very surprised, and he says, "Oh, that's wonderful. And have you told Gunther Schuller, who was president?" And so I went over to the office and told Gunther. And so Gunther wasn't that enthusiastic about, he had some problems conducting with the LA Phil. They gave him a hard time. So he was a little bit skeptical. "Are you going to take that job?" I said, "Of course. I'm not going to be a student next year. I have no reason to stay in Boston." So it was interesting. So I go out and I start, and it was summer season, the Hollywood Bowl. It's amazing. It was just an amazing difference in cities, the space, the weather. It was quite an adventure. So, and now after 37 years, I'm teaching, working with young people, working on my second book, and I'm on the cover of Horn Call magazine this month. It's quite, I think I sent you one. To be honest, it's a younger picture. I'm like 37, but anyway, it's an article, and a long article on me. And I'm listening to all the players, Lynn, and all the, I'm so glad that I got in the world of music. It's just been, I couldn't imagine that I could have done anything else and been this happy, honestly. So I'm glad to have, especially being from New Jersey, then to come back and play with the New Jersey Baroque Orchestra in New Jersey. It's quite a treat. Although my later years, it's been playing with the guys from the East Coast, that it's very special, very special.
Well, it's very special for us as well. So let's go back and talk to Lynn. But let me play a little bit. With Lynn, we had this really great experience. Well, everything we've done with Lynn has been great. But in 2015, it was so exciting because we did two concerts almost in a row, one in April and one in June, so just a couple of months apart. And one, we did the Beethoven First Piano Concerto, and then the other, we did the Beethoven Fourth Piano Concerto. So two exciting performances of Beethoven with Lynn as the soloist. So I'm going to play an excerpt. One of my favorite Beethoven movements of all is the third movement of the First Concerto. He goes into this gypsy-like Hungarian theme, which is so thrilling. And it was so thrilling to be able to perform it in New York with Lynn. So before we talk to Lynn again, let's watch a little bit of that performance. It's been great playing that little Rachmaninoff with you and playing Beethoven. We also did a Mozart concerto. Tell us, do you have favorite composers? Like who do you love to play the most? Who's the most rewarding to you as a pianist? Whose music do you like?
I mean, all composers, I think, I mean, at the time I'm playing, I have to fall in love with that composer to, in order to able to play better, you know. So I like all of them, but my favorite composer is actually Bach. So Bach playing is always rewarding to me. And I like Baroque music, than romantic period music. Um, it's more like it's 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 well fit with my character, I think. But of course, I love all the music. You know, I love to play, you know, like Prokofiev, of course, Rachmaninoff, Chopin, you know, Brahms. But you know, I still Bach is most comfortable. It's, you know, makes me think more. Other things more like more my feelings, but Bach is more like a philosophy to me. So
Great. I enjoy conducting Bach too, and I enjoy listening to Bach. Just Bach's music is
anytime.
that music that when you're feeling down or you're feeling confused, Bach can somehow puts it all into.
That's right.
I'd like to go back to Simon for a minute. I've lost him on here again. Is he, Simon? Are you here? He seems to have gotten disconnected or something. So, well, we'll talk to Bob again. Always a pleasure to talk to Bob. The next piece I'm gonna play with Bob is that, I mean, he's appeared with his group as with playing these wonderful ensemble concertos for 3 French horns. He's found this music for 4 French horns 2 summers ago, or a year and a half ago. At our summer festival, we played a Haydn symphony, the Horn Signal Symphony, number 31, which features 4 French horns. And it's basically, it's a concertante, what we call a concertante type of symphony, because it features many solo instruments and groups of instruments, including the 4 French horns. But one of the most fun pieces that Bob introduced to me was a concerto for 4 French horns by a composer I had never heard of. And I didn't think there were any composers I'd never heard of. But this was a German romantic composer, Heinrich Hübler, who wrote this concerto for 4 French horns and orchestra. And it just was a remarkable piece that we were so thrilled to be able to play a couple of years ago with Bob and his friends, his quartet of French horns. So let me get it all set up and listen to the 3rd movement of the Hübler concerto. So great. What a great performance and memory that was. So Bob, my question to you is: you've been playing with the Los Angeles Philharmonic. You've worked with some of the greatest artists, some of the greatest conductors, some of the conductors that I idolize as a conductor. And you've played some of the greatest music. So I have actually two questions for you because I know you've done some film music, I believe, as well. And so the two questions I have is, do any conductors or any experiences really stand out for you as being exceptionally special? Um, uh, because any special memories that you have, and what is it like recording a film score? I've done some studies, and of course, as a composer of film scores, but I've never really talked to a musician who's played one, so I'm not sure what it is like. What is the experience like?
Well, to answer your first question, my favorite musical experience, it was matter, was when we had conductor Carlo Maria Giulini. And just being on stage with him was this musical magic, the way he would say to us that he doesn't know what he does with his hands. He says, it's the music I do. I don't know what I do with my hands. And what a feeling. He could look at you and the expression, you knew exactly what he wanted. Just some of the things that playing the Verdi Requiem with him and the Dies Irae movement, there's a bass drum. I guess it's supposed to be the death knell, and the sound of that. He wanted such a hard, it was amazing. The sound he got from the percussion. He had such a sense. I never heard percussion section sound like that. So he was one of the more exciting conductors. There were some conductors that, unfortunately, because of, I don't know whether it's management, but we were never invited, like Colin Davis and Seiji Ozawa. And I think that it might have had something to do with our executive director or his relationship with them, but there were some that I wish we had gotten to perform with. But I would say Giulini was probably one of the more exciting times. Just the sound that he got from the orchestra, his concept. But as far as film scores, it's an interesting setup. So you have an orchestra, and then behind you is a huge screen behind the orchestra. You look forward, you have the conductor, and then behind the conductor is the control room where everything's being done. And you're wearing a click track. So you're not following the conductor in the sense that you would in an orchestra performance. You listen to the click track because the conductor is busy, you may get distracted, so you have to stay with the click track because the click track is with the film. So it's a different technology, and it's kind of fun because although what happens sometimes when the guys aren't playing, they get distracted and look at the film and they miss their parts. So they have to stop and start over. And there was a particular film we were doing years ago, and had some really racy scenes in it, and guys kept turning around and looking, and the conductor, they stopped 3 times. He said, stop looking, and come on, guys, you're missing your entrances, because they kept turning around. And there's a reason the screen is behind you, you know. And also, I used to play the Fox cartoons at Simpsons, and that was the same kind of thing. Sometimes there were things that were funny in the cartoon text, and they would stop us and tell us, guys, you got to hear this. So we'd stop, they play it for us, we turn around and look. But you've got to pay attention. You can't be looking at the screen. That's why they have it behind you, because it's distracting. If it were in front of you, it would be hard to keep your eyes on the music and not look at the screen. So it's a very different kind of a feel. And you have to, the other thing is that you never know what you're going to have to play, because there's no rehearsal. You go in and they put the piece that they want to hear, and that's it. And then you never know what's going to be next. So there's really no time to rehearse. So you have to really be a good sight reader. And they may play through it once and okay, let's make it. And then they put the screen up, put the text up on the screen, and then you play and they put it together. So it's a very different, even different than just playing recording in a studio. So it's a lot more elements. So you have to pay attention and control yourself to keep turning around. So but I think you'd enjoy it.
I'm sure. So thank you so much. I have one more thing that I would like to play a little bit. I can't believe that it's already um, uh,
an hour.
looking for things. So, but before we do, I can't believe it's an hour has passed already. I have so many more questions for Lynn and for Bob, for everybody. It's just so time goes so fast, and all. But before I play my one more thing, I want to play for with regarding Bob's work. Does anybody have any questions? I think I saw Kim. You had a question in the chat room. Let me see if I can find it. Kim asks, he knows little about the French horn, but it appears your instrument has a different set of valves and pipes. Is your horn different, or is it closer to the original, or anything about it that makes it different? Bob?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking. Someone asked a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Kim, could you repeat your question?
Yeah, hello. Mr. Watt, I don't know much about the French horn, but it looks like your instrument has a different set of valves and pipes than the horns of your colleagues. Is your horn closer to, say, the original hunting horn, or what?
In which piece are you referring to? Telemann?
Yes, the first one.
At the Telemann, I'm playing a Descant horn, but just for high notes.
Oh, okay.
Less tubing purposely. It's just concentrated for the high notes because that stays up pretty high. So it's not, the others have full double horns, but what I was playing it's an F alto, and it's just an F horn, an octave above the regular F horn on the regular French horn. So it's just for high notes. So that's a special instrument.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have a question or anything they'd like to ask? Okay, then I would like to, first of all, show a couple of pictures. As I said, it is such a pleasure an honor for me to know Bob and to be able to work with him. I mentioned that he is a legend in the music world. So I just want to show a few pictures. This is his first book, which came out several years ago, which several of you I know purchased when he was here, when he played the Telemann. The Black Horn is an excellent book. Look at his world and the music world. This is the cover of the magazine that he mentioned, the February issue. He's on the cover. He's the cover story. And he also recently a film came out about him that is playing at some film festivals. These are a couple of pictures from that film. The film is called Bob Watt in Conversation with Todd Cochran. If you can have a chance to watch it, it is a great film. It is just very moving, very informative, a wonderful, wonderful film to see. I know it's at film festivals. I'm sure it'll be available or some kind of various downloads, streams, things of that nature. I very, very highly recommend it. And the last thing I would like to play, kind of a tribute to Bob, at that first performance, as an encore, he and his colleagues played several wonderful, wonderful arrangements for I think 5 French horns, including the 3 French horn players who played the Telemann and 2 other special guests. And the tribute was, what you said, Bob, was very moving, and I think extremely appropriate to today's world when we're getting through so many challenges, when we're hoping we've turned a corner and we're moving forward again, health-wise, as a country, as everything. And your colleague, Jeff Scott, made a wonderful, wonderful tribute to you. And I was watching it the other day and I thought, this is the perfect thing to play, as I think it's a really beautiful tribute that I'd like to close with. So let me get it started.
Now I can ask you the last piece. I ask you to think about how wonderful it is to live in these United States as we play America the Beautiful, arranged by the amazing Marshall Seeley.
He's not expecting this, but I thought I'd just, before we play the last piece, let you know that this man is being extremely humble in his communicating with you. Bob Watt, being one of the very first African Americans to play a major symphony orchestra and hold a major position, was an inspiration to every one of us here on the stage. Coming up as a young African American musician in conservatory, even then I didn't have many folks that looked like me that I could look to and say, wow, I can do that. And somebody made it very aware to me that there was a man on the left coast that had been doing it for quite some time, and you should know about him. And although he's retired, he remains clearly an inspiration to us all. So if we could please give him one more.
Oh, once again, it's 10 after
Wonderful.
11, over an hour. Lynn, Bob, and Simon, wherever you got to, it was such a thrill to see you, to be able to share. Lynn, do you have any last things you'd like to say?
Just thank you so much, Maestro, and thank you for your continuously love and passion for the classical music, no matter what. And I really appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, any last words?
Yeah, I'd like to brag on you a bit. I just think that it's amazing that the things that you come up with, the creative ideas to promote music, you're always, it's just the cutting edge. There's a cutting edge ability that you have. You're always, I mean, you're running this whole thing. I don't know if I would be able to run this whole program. You're the conductor and still and sitting in a chair conducting this whole program. And just the ideas of keeping the music going. It was very moving to hear the stuff that you're doing. And it's, you know, it's just a thrill to know you. And the fact that I'm from New Jersey, you know, I wish I had known about the orchestra earlier, or I don't know if, I mean, I'm getting older. I don't know how long the orchestra has been in existence, but it would have been great. The Monmouth Symphony was what I played in high school. But to know about the Baroque Orchestra in New Jersey, when I heard about that, it was very exciting. I thought, oh, I want to play with them. So you've just been just such a spark in the music world for me. So that's what I wanted to say. Leave you with that.
Thank you, Bob. Greatly, greatly appreciated. And your friendship, Lynn, your friendship is Lynn and Bob both. The friendship has meant so much, sharing the music. I still remember the time we got together in New York for dinner, and then we had dessert up in some place I'll never be able to find again.
Yeah.
But Lynn found that we went up on the
Yeah.
roof, and it was a beautiful summer evening, and just everything we shared together. I hope you'll join me again on February 25th when we meet with Jude Pfister. One of the subjects of that is going to be collaboration and what we do when we discover old music. Because Jude discovered a masterpiece, operatic masterpiece, composed by a major, major composer, Alessandro Scarlatti, that dated from 1693. And so 300-year-old opera piece that we put together, managed to edit and do the first modern day performances of it. So we're going to talk about what is it like to work with old manuscripts and to discover great music that way. So thank you. Be safe, be well, brave the storms. We're rounding the corner. I know it. And I can't wait to see you all live and in person again, as well as on my show. Thank you. Be good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Bye, Bob.
you.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Thanks, all the artists.
Thank you, Bob. Another wonderful BB&B.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Bob, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So
Another
good to see
hit.
you.
How are you feeling, Bob?
I'm feeling terrific.
Good.
Moving
Thank you,
forward.
Bob.
Thank you.
Okay.
Y'all be good. Have a great one.
And
See
thank
you
you.
next time.